قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد.
صل على
محمد وآل محمد. صلوات. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
محمد وآل محمد صلوات.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. عن فاطمة الزهراء عليها السلام بنت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله أنها قالت دخل علي أبي رسول الله في بعض الأيام فقال السلام عليك يا فاطمة فقلت عليك السلام قال إني أجد في بدني ضعفا فقلت له أعيذك بالله يا أبتاه من الضعف فقال يا فاطمة ائتيني بالكساء اليماني فغطيني به فأتيته بالكساء اليماني فغطيته به وصرت أنظر إليه وإذا وجهه يتلعلع كأنه البدر في ليلة تمامه وكماله. اللهم صل وسلم. فما كانت إلا ساعة وإذا بولدي الحسن قد أقبل وقال السلام عليك يا أماه فقلت عليك السلام يا قرة عيني وثمرة فؤادي فقال يا أماه إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة جدي رسول الله فقلت نعم إن جدك تحت الكساء فأقبل الحسن نحو الكساء وقال السلام عليك يا جداه يا رسول الله أتأذن لي أن أدخل معك تحت الكساء فقال وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا صاحب حوزي قد أذنت لك فدخل معه تحت الكساء. اللهم صل على محمد. فما كانت إلا ساعة وإذا بولدي الحسين قد أقبل وقال السلام عليك يا أماه فقلت وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا قرة عيني وثمرة فؤادي فقال لي يا أماه إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة جدي رسول الله فقلت نعم إن جدك وأخاك تحت الكساء فدنا الحسين نحو الكساء فقال السلام عليك يا جداه السلام عليك يا من اختاره الله أتأذن لي أن أكون معكما تحت الكساء فقال وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا شافع أمتي قد أذنت لك فدخل معكما تحت الكساء. اللهم صل على محمد. فأقبل عند ذلك أبو الحسن علي بن أبي طالب وقال السلام عليك يا بنت رسول الله فقلت وعليك السلام يا أبا الحسن ويا أمير المؤمنين فقال يا فاطمة إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة أخي وابن عمي رسول الله. فقلت نعم، ها هو مع ولديك تحت الكساء. فأقبل علي نحو الكساء وقال السلام عليك يا رسول الله، أتأذن لي أن أكون معكم تحت الكساء؟ قال له وعليك السلام يا أخي ويا وسي وخليفتي وصاحب لوائي، قد أذنت لك. فدخل علي تحت الكساء. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد. ثم أتيت نحو الكساء وقلت السلام عليك يا أبتاه يا رسول الله، أتأذن لي أن أكون معكم تحت الكساء؟ قال وعليك السلام يا بنتي ويا قذعتي، قد أذنت لك. فدخلت تحت الكساء، فلما اكتملنا جميعا تحت الكساء أخذ أبي رسول الله بطرفي الكساء وأومي بيده اليمنى إلى السماء وقال اللهم إن هؤلاء الأهل بيتي وخاصتي وحامتي، لحمهم لحمي ودمهم دمي، يعلمني ما يعلمهم ويحزنني ما يحزنهم. أنا حرب لمن حاربهم وسلم لمن صالمهم وعدو لمن آذاهم ومحب لمن أحبهم. إنهم مني وأنا منهم، فاجعل صلواتك وبركاتك ورحمتك وغفرانك ورضوانك علي وعليهم، أذهب عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد. فقال الله عز وجل يا ملائكتي ويا سكان سماواتي، إني ما خلقت سماء مبنيا ولا أرضا مدحيا ولا قمرا منيرا ولا شمسا مزيا ولا فلكا يدور ولا بحرا يجري ولا فلك يسري إلا في محبة هؤلاء الخمسة الذين هم تحت الكساء. فقال الأمين جبرائيل يا ربي ومن تحت الكساء؟ فقال عز وجل هم أهل بيت النبوة ومعدن الرسالة، هم فاطمة وأبوها وبعلها وبنوها. فقال جبرائيل يا ربي أتعذر لي أن أهبط إلى الأرض لأكون معهم سادسا؟ فقال الله نعم قد أذنت لك. فهبط الأمين جبرائيل وقال السلام عليك يا رسول الله العلي الأعلى، يقرئك السلام ويخصك بالتحية والإكرام ويقول لك وعزتي وجلالي إني ما خلقت سماء مبنيا ولا أرضا مدحيا ولا قمرا منيرا ولا شمسا مزيا ولا فلكا يدور ولا بحرا يجري ولا فلك يسري إلا لأجلكم ومحبتكم، وقد أذن لي أن أدخل معكم، فهل تأذن لي يا رسول الله؟ فقال رسول الله وعليك السلام يا أمين وحي الله، نعم قد أذنت لك. فدخل جبرائيل معنا تحت الكساء فقال لأبي إن الله قد أوحى إليكم يقول إنما يريد الله ليذهب عنكم الرجس أهل البيت ويطهركم تطهيرا. فقال علي لأبي يا رسول الله أخبرني ما لجلوسنا هذا تحت الكساء من الفضل عند الله. فقال النبي صلى الله عليه وآله والذي بعثني بالحق نبيا واصطفاني بالرسالة نجيا ما ذكر خبرنا هذا في محفل من مقافل أهل الأرض وفيه جمع من شيعتنا ومحبينا إلا ونزلت عليهم الرحمة وخفت بهم الملائكة واستغفرت لهم إلى أن يتفرقوا. فقال علي عليه السلام إذا والله فزنا وفاز شيعتنا ورب الكعبة. فقال أبي رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله يا علي والذي بعثني بالحق نبيا واصطفاني بالرسالة نجيا ما ذكر خبرنا هذا في محفل من مقابل أهل الأرض وفيه جمع من شيعتنا ومحبينا وفيهم محموم إلا وفرج الله هما ولا مغموم إلا وكشف الله غما ولا طالب حاجة إلا وكذا الله حاجته. فقال علي عليه السلام إذا والله فزنا وصعدنا كذلك شيعتنا فازوا وسعدوا في الدنيا والآخرة ورب الكعبة.
Muhammad wa ali Muhammad salawat. रिज़ाए खालिक अकबर बतूल की मर्ज़ी रिज़ाए खालिक अकबर बतूल की मर्ज़ी यूं मर्ज़ियों में है बरतर यूं मर्ज़ियों में है बरतर बतूल की मर्ज़ी रिज़ाए खालिक अकबर बतूल की मर्ज़ी कभी अली की गुलामी से लाजवाल बने कभी कलाम इलाही में वो कलाम करे बनाए फिज़ाओ कंबर बनाए फिज़ाओ कंबर बतूल की मर्ज़ी रिज़ाए खालिक अकबर बतूल की मर्ज़ी ख़ुज़ा उसी की सबब है बाहर है उससे निज़ाम गर्दिश ले लो नहार है उससे चल चलाए चक्की का चक्कर, चलाए चक्की का चक्कर, बतूल की मर्जी, रिज़ाए खालिक अकबर, बतूल की मर्जी। जब आया फर्श पे दर्जी, लिए लिबास जिना, ज़मीन वालों पे तब खुल गया ये राज़ नेहा, फलक पे भी है मुकर्रर, फलक पे भी है मुकर्रर, बतूल की मर्जी, रिज़ाए खालिक अकबर, बतूल की मर्जी, रिज़ाए खालिक अकबर, बतूल की मर्जी। महाज़ जंग पे हर वक्त फतह याबी का, जो उनसे पूछोगे हर राज कामयाबी का, कहेंगे फ़ातह खैबर, कहेंगे फ़ातह खैबर, बतूल की मर्जी, अकबर, बतूल की मर्जी। अगर हो चाके खुद राजिया बिराजी हो, वो में हुसैन में आंसू बहा के तुम ले लो, आज़ा के फर्श पे आकर, आज़ा के फर्श पे आकर, बतूल की मर्जी, रिज़ाए खालिक अकबर, बतूल की मर्जी। अता न होता तुम्ही सम, कहाँ था बस मैं तेरे, कलाम मर्जी ज़हरा लिख दिया तूने, हुआ है सिर्फ ये पाकर, हुआ है सिर्फ ये पाकर, बतूल की मर्जी, रिज़ाए खालिक अकबर, बतूल की मर्जी, रिज़ाए खालिक अकबर, बतूल की मर्जी। बर मोहम्मद वाले मोहम्मद सल्लल्लाहु Before I continue, please read Surah Fatiha for my grandfather, Sheikh Muhammad Zaki.
इमाम ज़माना बुलंदतर सलवात
बर मोहम्मद वाले मोहम्मद सल्लल्लाहु बानो का तलाश करे अपने लाल को, बानो का तलाश अपने लाल को हाय जंगल में मार डाला है ज़हरा की आल को बानों कहाँ तलाश शब्बीर मेरे पास है सदके को बस यही शब्बीर मेरे पास है सदके को बस यही झूले से ला के दे दिया बानों ने लाल को बानों का तलाश ज़ैनब की ज़ात रोती है सब मिल के बीबियां ज़ैनब के साथ रोती है सब मिल के बीबियां जब देखती थी रोज वो वक्त ज़वाल को है जब देखती थी रोज वो वक्त ज़वाल को बानों कहाँ तलाश शब्बीर दिल को थाम के गश खा के गिर पड़े शब्बीर दिल को थाम के गश खा के गिर पड़े देखा जो खून में गल नबी के जमाल को बानों कहाँ तलाश शब्बीर लारे मैदान से देखिए शब्बीर ला रहे हैं मैदान से देखिए अपने ज़ईफ़ कांधों पर 18 साल को बानों कहाँ तलाश बाज़ार शाम में वो असीरों का काफ़िला बाज़ार शाम में वो असीरों का काफ़िला आबिद न भूल पाए कभी इस ख्याल को बानो कहाँ तलाश, ऐसा तो जुल्म जोर किसी पर हुआ नहीं, ऐसा तो जुल्म जोर किसी पर हुआ नहीं, बर्बाद जिस तरह किया लहरा किया को, बालों कहाँ तलाश, लैला दुआएं करती रही, अब बाद कर बला, लैला दुआएं करती रही, अब बाद कर बला, या रब जुदा न करना किसी माँ से लाल को, बालों कहाँ तलाश, शबीर अपने रोज़े पर बुलवाएंगे दरूद, शबीर अपने रोज़े पर बुलवाएंगे दरूद, तो क़ीर टूट करता दिल से मलाल को है, बालों कहाँ तलाश करे अपने लाल को, बालों कहाँ तलाश।
MashaAllah, that was a very beautiful recitation from all those who have recited so far. I would now like to invite the sponsor, Uncle Mumtaz Abdi, to come up and recite. After him, it will be our lecture. Salawat.
मोहम्मद सलवार मोहम्मद वाले मोहम्मद वजह फर्ज
दरूद पढ़े मोहम्मद वाले मोहम्मद
मोहम्मद वाले मोहम्मद।
कहती थी यही ज़ैनब दुखिया मेरे वीरनवा, मुजरा लो मेरा कुछ बात करो, मैं तो बेफिदा कुछ बात करो, मैं तो बेफिदा मेरे भी मुजरा लो मेरा
मैं कूक जली मा जाई हूँ हमशीर तुम्हारी भाई हूँ
जिंदान से चढ़ कर आई हूँ जिंदान से चढ़ कर आई हूँ मेरे वीर अनवा मुजरा लो मेरा
निकली थी वसन से जा मैं अभी तुम साथ गिरे और कुनबा का सभी अब कोई नहीं तन्हा
चली
अब कोई नहीं तन्हा
चली मेरे वीर अनवा मुजरा लो मेरा
अकबर भी नहीं अब्बास नहीं कासिम सबती जा पास नहीं अब मुझको किसी की आस नहीं अब मुझको किसी की आस नहीं मेरे वीर अनवा मुजरा लो मेरा जिंदा में गई दरबार गई सरनांग सरे बाजार गई बिनते ज़लीलो खार गई बिनते ज़लीलो खार गई मेरे वीर अनवा मुजरा लो मेरा पूछेंगी अगर मुझसे सुरा बाप किस जा मेरा क्या उससे कहूँ बोलो भैया क्या उससे कहूँ बोलो भैया मेरे वीर अनवा मुजरा लो मेरा कहती थी जरूरत पड़े मोहम्मद वतन में काफ़िले करबला की आमद है सवारी हराम में मुस्तफा की आमद है यतीम सरवरे गुलगू कबा की आमद है गरीबों बेकसुर आशना गरीबों बेकसुर आशना गरीबों बेकसुर आशना की आमद है राम शहर शायक अली के प्यारों का नबी के रोज़े पे मजमाए दो नबी के रोज़े पे मजमाए दो रों का सुनाता जब से के आते हैं सैयदे अकराम खुशी से फातिमा सुगरा का तो अजाब कभी तो झुकती थी सजदे में वादी देना कभी ये कहती थी यूनानी जान कभी ये कहती थी यूनानी जान ये कहती थी यूनानी जान जी गया वतन में
शे मशरक़ैन आके चलो चलो मेरे बाबा से चलो चलो मेरे बाबा से चलो चलो मेरे बाबा से आते हैं ये सुनते ही उम्मुल बनी बशौक़ तमाम गई जो मुद्दासिले रोज़े रसूल अनाम सुनाए शोर के लो आए शायर से मुकाम नजर वो आता है देखो निशान आता है देखो निशान ऐसी कौन से हैदर का यादगार लिए हुए पासना लिए हुए पासना लिए हुए पासना आया पड़ता था घोड़े के आगे आगे बशीर मदीना लुट गया जंगल में मर गए शबीर गले फादिल बरे जहरा के चल गई शमशीर या शहीद हरीबुल वतन या शहीद हरीबुल वतन या शहीद हरीबुल वतन जो जमीन पर ये उसका अपन मिलाना जिसे उसका ये अपन मिलाना जिसे उसका ये आके नाक को सजा देना कमा उतरे असा को थाम के बाचश को पिशा उतरे करीब मरकते सुल्तान सजा उतरे करते हुए करते हुए रसूल मर गए फरियाद मर गए फरियाद रसूल जो रोज में दाखिल वफा फिरा नगार गिरे मज़ारे मुबारक विदेशी उठा के आके फरियाद की बना लो हमारी आ गई हम बेकसो हमारी आ गई हम बेकसो हमारी आ गई हम बेकसो यतीम हो गए नाशा माया है पिलर को खो के वतन में बुला पिलर को खो के वतन में बुला सितम किया उम्मत या रसूल ज़मान किया हुजूर के प्यारों को दे सुना पे सरे पाक और जमीन पे वजन बाबा को दे हम ऐसे के बाबा को दे को दिया में रात न चैन रातों को जकड़ दिया दरअसल से हमारा जकड़ दिया दरअसल से हमारा जकड़ दिया दरअसल से हमारे फिर इस तरह नबी मज़ूम एक हाथ में शैगाम हज़रत का जामे गुलगो ज़बां पे नसीहत जिसका इनाम ज़बां पे नसीहत जिसका इनाम दुहाई है नाना शहीद के गुजरे को शहीद के गुजरे को शहीद के गुजरे को हुसैन के मरने से बदर ज़ैनब गई यज़ीद की मजलिस में ना ये सर ज़ैनब कई महीने रही कैदों अगर ज़ैनब ये सब वरम है शालों दूते मेरे बाबू के रसी के मेरे बाबू के रसी के वरम है शालों दूते मेरे बाबू के रसी के मेरे बाबू के रसी के
सल्ले अला मुहम्मद
I would now like to invite Brother Basper Shori to come up to the minbar, please. With an house of Allah.
اللهم صل على محمد.
नारे तकबीर, नारे रिसालत, नारे हैदरी, नारे हैदरी, मोहम्मद बाबा जी बुलंद सलावत।
मोहम्मद वाले मोहम्मद बाज़ बुलंद सलावत।
محمد وعلى محمد.
صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
سورة الفاتحة. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا مولانا حبيب الله العالمين أبو القاسم المصطفى محمد.
اللهم صل على
محمد وعلى
وعلى آل بيت الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين ولعنة الله على القوم الظالمين إلى الآن لا يوم الدين. أما بعد، السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليكم مني جميعا سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعل الله الآخر الأحد من زيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. يا رحمة الله الواسعة، يا باب نجاة الأمة، يا عبرة لكل مؤمن ومؤمنات، يا غريب يا مظلوم كربلاء. فيا ليتني يا ليتني كنا معكم سادتي فنفوز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد، قال الله الحكيم في محكم كتابه الكريم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ألا إن أولياء الله لا خوف عليهم ولا يحزنون صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوات
اللهم صل على محمد.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. The Quran gives a very general injunction to all people. وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا. Hold true to the rope of Allah all together, جَمِيعًا. And do not become misguided or straying away from this rope of God. Yesterday we discussed that if you want to know the meaning of the rope of Allah, whether we look at the Quran or the Sunnah or the Ahadith or the words of the Mufassirin or Tariq or Aql, Hablullah, the rope of Allah is none other than the wilayat of Ali bin Abi Talib alayhi salam. And in this verse we are told all people come together and hold on to this wilayat of Ali. Don't let go of this wilayat. As a community come together, jami'an, and may all of you hold on to this wilayat together. And don't be among those people who turn away from this wilayat. This is the basis of all unity in the context of our discussions over the next few nights. Unity for us in our context is to all of us come together and unite under the banner of Ashhadu anna Aliyyun waliyullah. This banner of Imam Ali alayhi salam's wilayat is so eternal and so universal. Even the malaika and the jinn are part of the banner of Ali waliyullah. And so we are joining into that same banner. وَاعْتَصِمُوا, hold firm to this rope of Allah. Okay. Where we left off yesterday, for those who were here, and for those who are get you up to speed, inshallah, was this. Unity, true unity, where many become one. If we take this verse as our basis, that I need the wilayat of Islam to have unity, that then leads to a form of brotherhood between me and you, or sisterhood between the sisters, or a general form of love, of muhabbat between all the people who come under the banner of Ali. Because you recognize that if I say I love Ali ibn Abi Talib, and you say that you love him, through our mutual affection for the same being, we develop love for one another. This is quite natural. And wa'atasmu then means as a jinn, as a qawm, you are all going to not only love Ali, but for the sake of Ali, you will increase in your love for one another as well. I will love those around me more, and they will have more love for me, because when they see me, they will be reminded of someone who takes them towards their Mawla. And when I see you, I'm not reminded of going towards anyone else, I'm reminded of going towards Hablullah or Hablullah al-Mateen, as we have told. In today's discussion, inshallah, we want to expand this idea of how do me and you build brotherhood in the shade of wilayat among one another. We might bond on other topics, we might have the same common interests, we might like the same people, but how do we make sure our bond is made for the sake of Ali alayhi salam? And when we have that wilayah, that's true wilayah, how do we then reformulate our understanding of what an ummah and what a qawm is based on this love of Ali alayhi salam? And in that journey, inshallah, no matter what we find, hopefully we will see examples of when someone comes and tries to cause disunity among us. If they try to split us apart for any reason, how does the love of Ali protect us from all forms of disunity if we have it, inshallah? So that's our discussion today. How do we take yesterday's discussion about wilayat of Allah and link it to me and you, inshallah? If you are with me for our discussion today, salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Today's night 2 of this series of unity under the example of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. The aim is we are leaving the Ayam Azhar to become more unified, inshallah, for the sake of our Imam, of our time. So for his sake, and the Imam who we are working towards, we are putting all of our work in his direction. Just Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Okay, wilaya in general comes from wala, which means to be near something, and wilaya is often linked to Allah as well. Innama waliyakum Allah. Your wali is Allah wa Rasul wa alladhina amanu. الذين آمنوا يقيمون الصلاة ويؤتون الزكاة وهم راكعون. This is a very helpful verse which every Shia should know, because of course The verse begins and ends with dhikr of my Mawla, Imam Ali alayhi salam. Your wali is Allah. He's the one who you have authority under. Then Rasul, and then the one who has Iman and establishes prayer and gives zakat whilst in the state of ruku. There is no human being who has the bravery to come and claim this is me except Ali ibn Abi Talib, who says, I am the one that the verse reveals for me that when I was in ruku and a beggar came, I extended my finger and I gave him zakat while praying ruku. This is the only person in history who has done and claims this, and he's the one who's praised in this verse. And he's my wali. It begins with Allah, then it goes to Rasul, and then it goes to him. He's the wali. Okay. We have something called vertical wilaya and horizontal wilaya. What are they? Surah Al-Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. Vertical wilaya, going up and down. Vertical wilaya is the hierarchy of Allah, wa Rasul, and my Imam. For example, it goes in order. It begins with Allah Azza wa Jalla because he is, of course, the wali of all. Then it goes to the Holy Prophet because he is the wali of you after. And then it goes to Ali alayhi salam because on the day of Badr, the Prophet said, my wali over me is Allah. And the wali of all of you is me. And after me, that same wali is Ali ibn Abi Talib, because from the word wali comes the word Mawla. When Imam Ali alayhi salam sends Malik al-Ashtar to Egypt, he tells him, I am your wali. You are now being sent as the one who the people will follow to get to their wali. They'll follow you to get to me. Allah is over me and Allah is over you. And together, the obligation is on the people to follow the wali of their time, the one who's been sent to them. This is a hierarchy. So it can even go under the Imam to the one who the Imam sends, his representative. At some point it reaches me, and I go up this hierarchy and go up following my Imam and then go all the way up to Allah. That's vertical wilaya. Then we have horizontal wilaya. Horizontal wilaya is when all the people who have that same hierarchy they're following have a link among one another. So now it's not just me upwards, it's me looking around saying who else is following the same hierarchy? Who else has the same Imam as me? Who's doing salat and mentioning the same Prophet in their salat? Who has the same God as me? And when you see mutuality, you find that we share wilaya as well. We share wilaya. That wilaya is nearness and closeness. That wilaya is mentioned in the Quran as the basis for building a qawm or an ummah. When me and you have that shared love among each other. The verse I mentioned, I mentioned earlier, Allah, Inna al-awliya Allah. As for the awliya of God, the ones who are friends of Allah, the ones who have actually done what we're talking about, and they have that relationship with Allah Azza wa Jalla. La khawfun alayhim wa la tahzanun. They have no fear anymore. They have no sadness anymore. They have united themselves under this system of wilaya. So now, what's going to bring me sadness when I have my Mawla to take care of me? Who's going to hurt me when around me are the mu'mineen who help me when I'm in distress? Well, there's no sadness for them anymore because these people have reformed their relationships based on wilaya. And now Allah has love for them. Allah says He is about them. Awliya Allah, the friends of God. The end of this verse is useful for us in Muharram. What's the end of the verse? وَلَا يَحْزَنُونَ. And they will not have any sadness. What does this have to mean? That everyone might have sadness, but on the day of judgment, one group will not have sadness. The narration says from the Holy Prophet Rasulullah Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Where he says, on the day of judgment, actually he said the Father was noticing this as well, on the day of judgment, all the eyes will be sad except the eyes which wept for Hussein in this dunya. All of the other eyes will have sadness and huzn. Wala yahzun means it's those people, those few people who cried for Hussein, those same eyes which were sad today will be smiling tomorrow. That's walaya. Imam Sadiq said the same thing. He says the heart which is broken for my master Hussein, my grandfather Hussein, that same heart will be smiling as you enter Jannah. The awliya of Allah might go through hardship and difficulty, it's part of life. But because they're awliya of Allah, when they go to the one who is their beloved, they go with happiness, with a smile, with their eyes and their hearts smiling towards Allah Azza wa Jalla. This Prophet wanted to make sure that when he left, all of his followers and the believers had this in their heart. That the Prophet's leaving, I'm leaving, I don't want anything from you. Just have closeness and love for those who are near me. That's a reminder to all of us. That walaya extends from Ahl al-Bayt, and all of us must share in that same walaya. Indeed, this is the plan of all of the prophets of Allah Azza wa Jal and the Malaika, to instill this walaya in every human being who lives. And all of them become that Jamia before the work of Allah Azza wa Jal. Imam Muhammad al-Baqir alayhi salam, to explain this quote, says that there has not been an angel who's been sent or a prophet who has been on a mission who has not preached anything other than a religion which stresses to have love for us Ahlul Bayt. All of the Malaika and all of the prophets, the basis of their deen was love for us Ahlul Bayt. We were part of that mission. Walaya in the horizontal sense means I look for who has love for Ahlul Bayt. Who are they? And by being close towards them, I become close towards Allah Azza wa Jalla. Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. That path of walaya then leads to love, to hubb. Because if a heart is close to Ahlul Bayt, the way the heart sees Ahlul Bayt is not just with ilm and adl, it sees it with ishq and muhabbat. You find yourself falling in love with Ali Muhammad. And you find yourself grieving when leaving the Ayam Azar and going towards any other period, because you're thinking that I'm sad that I spent 2 months and 8 days crying for my mother every night in Majlis. And what now I'm going to go and do something else that causes an intense sadness in the heart. This is someone who has muhabbat. That's the next step of our journey. Once you have walaya, that leads to muhabbat. And the heart now has love for anyone who reminds it of Allah Azza wa Jal. So in the verse of Quran, we read Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Qul in kuntum tuhibbuna Allah. If you want to have love for Allah, if you want that, where when you pray you have that khushu and you have such a relation of love with God. If you want this thing, fattabi'uni, then follow me. Rasulullah is saying, follow me, I'll take you towards this path. Yuhibbukum Allah, Allah will then love you if you follow me. وَيَغْفِرُوا لَكُمْ ذُنُوبَكُمْ, and He will forgive your sins. وَاللَّهُ غَفُورٌ رَحِيمٌ, and He is the most merciful and forgiver of sins. If you come to Him with muhabbat, that's the condition. I can't expect He's going to forgive my sins if I don't come to Him with muhabbat. The Prophet says, when you ask Allah for forgiveness, ask Allah from a tongue to forgive all of your sins, but don't ask Him from a tongue which has committed those sins. Someone says, Ya Rasulullah, I have committed so many sins. And you've just said, ask for forgiveness. And you've said, only ask forgiveness from a tongue which has not committed sins. How can I ask forgiveness when this tongue has caused me so much problems? Rasulullah says, in that case, ask another person to ask forgiveness for you, because their tongue did not commit your sins. When you do this, you're following this verse. What verse? This verse. That Allah forgives your sins if you go to Him with love. I need you to do dua for me, just like you need a baby to do dua for you. I can't do it alone. I can't go to Allah without tawassul. I can't go to Him without Ahlul Bayt. I need someone to supplicate and beseech that, oh, you ask Allah for me. And that's why you go to Karbala. You go to Karbala and you go to Zari Muhammad alayhi salam and you cry and you beg and you weep and you feel your heart breaking. You feel, I've never felt this broken like I was at Ghadariya. And you go on your knees and you say, Ya Hussein, do dua for me. Make me worthy that you mention me when you talk to Allah. Call me back to you. Don't let me leave this azab. Forgive my sins. Ask Allah to wipe my sins away. Make me close to my Imam. You're asking Hussein to ask Allah for you. That's what you're doing. In kuntum tuhibbuna, if you want Allah to love you, fattabi'uni, follow us Ahlul Bayt. We'll take you towards Allah. We'll take you on that path. And I need someone to take me. That's walaya, where I can't go to God alone. I need someone with me. Now, some people don't want walaya. You will go to them with every proof, every verse. They want one thing, because the next verse says, after the verse is said, Atiullah wa atiur Rasul. Follow Allah, follow the Prophet. فَإِن تَوَلَّوْا, if someone doesn't want this, they don't want to follow Allah and the Prophet, they don't want this part of walaya, فَإِنَّ اللَّهُ لَا يُحِبُّ الْكَافِرِينَ. Fine, Allah does not have Muhammad for the kafirin. Not everyone gets this special love we want. Not everyone deserves it. You have to go to Him with muhabbat. And the verse begins, you have to go to Him by following the Prophet after Him. There's no path of ishq or muhabbat without Rasulullah helping you on that journey. This is the Prophet who opens up your heart towards Allah. He found you, the Holy Prophet found you, when you have no love in your heart. I mentioned this narration yesterday for those of you who weren't here, by Sayyidah Fatima sallallahu alayha. I mentioned again, we mentioned the khutbah of Fadak, which is given that famous khutbah Fadakiyya. Ironically, that was the first time I read in Idara-e-Jaaferiya. I was on that khutbah, and now I'm reading again, alhamdulillah. On that day, on khutbah Fadakiyya, Sayyidah Fatima says to the people, a prophet came to you, He saw you and he felt bad for you. He had pity at the distress you had caused yourself to be in. He saw what you had done to yourself. And he destroyed and broke the backs of the mushrikeen in front of you and gave you iman. He was my father, not your father. He married my cousin, not your cousin. So now, and later she says, why have you abandoned the family of that same prophet? Walaya means you go to Ahlul Bayt, you go on their door and they take you. Not everyone wants this door, but the ones who want it will naturally fall in love with any other seeker of this path. You see yourself in others when they're trying to wake up for Fajr and you can't. You say, you know what, I recognize that feeling in me. I've had that same feeling. When you see them crying for Hussein, you think, you know what, I've had those moments where my whole heart is breaking. I recognize that feeling. And soon we're going to Allah together. Go together towards Allah. Hold that rope together. That's wilayah of the horizontal sense. With Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Now, if you follow me, the journey continues. Once you have wilayah and you have hope, you have love, then what happens is you start finding yourself doing certain actions which come directly from love of Ahlul Bayt. Actions which come from that journey, which all of us do. Quran mentions when you have that love and you have that path of wilayah and you're trying to follow Allah, you'll find yourself doing certain deeds, and all people on the path will recognize these sifat from Quran. Awalan, the verse of Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. وَتَكُونُ مِنْكُمْ, from among you there should be الْأُمَّةً يَدْعُونَ إِلَى الْخَيْرِ, an ummah from among you who are guiding people towards goodness. يَأْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَيَنْهَوْنَ عَلَى الْمُنْكَرِ. Their role is just encouraging good, forbidding evil. That's their role. وَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُفْلِحُونَ. These people are successful. Interestingly, they are from you. They're not all of you. So from among everyone, there are some people whose priority it is to go and guide people towards khair and to amr al-nahi. Ask yourself this question. When someone corrects you, or gives you advice, or criticizes you in a nice way, not when they're trying to cut you down. When they're doing this, are they doing this because they hate you or because they love you? If someone hates someone, they don't guide them, they abandon them. They leave them behind. If you hate someone, you have nothing to do with them, you abandon them, you don't even talk to them. The one who loves another is prepared to correct them when they did wrong, because I'm going on the same journey as you. And if I see you going elsewhere, I'm going to help you, because I know that if I'm going wrong, you're going to come and help me. That's amr and nahi. It's a transaction. Imam Ali says the whole home breaks apart when there's no amr and no nahi. One of the signs of muhabbat is I'm prepared to do amr bil ma'ruf. I'm prepared to guide you towards good. And I'm prepared, when it comes down to it, to do nahi anil munkar, to discourage you from bad. Just because I know for a fact, if we're on the same path, if you see me slipping, you're going to come to me and do the same thing for me. You'll tell me, listen, brother or sister, what you're doing is wrong. Here's why, X, Y, and Z. And you'll not come with rudeness or harshness. They'll come to you with wisdom, with encouragement, with good conduct, with wise discussion, and they'll guide you back to the path. That's wilayah. If I'm falling, you don't watch me fall, pick me back up. That's one sign of wilayah. There are other wilayah as well. Another sign of wilayah is this. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Surah 61, verse 4. Inna Allaha yuhibbu alladhina yuqatiluna fi sabilihi saffan. Allah has muhabbat for those people who kill his enemies standing in a row, in a saf. كَأَنَّهُمْ بُنْيَانٌ مَرْصُوصٌ. They create among themselves one solid structure in the army. Allah has muhabbat for those people. They come together in a saf, in a line. And when they stand in those rows fighting against the enemy, Allah has muhabbat for them. Why? Because they don't become individuals anymore. Now they are bunyan marsus. They are now a new entity. They are a complete fixed unit. And that unit fights against the enemy. Allah loves it when you come together like this. He has muhabbat for this. These are muhabbat Allah Azza wa Jal. When they come together, they put aside their differences and they stand together alongside one another, and they become something brand new. A firm structure, a new entity. When the mu'mineen come together under the banner of the Imam and fight against the enemy of the Imam, they are doing God's work on this earth. So much so, and Nahj al-Balagha, Imam Ali says, when he's trying to encourage his troops, he looks and says, you know something? You, my troops, are fighting for me. You are mountains. Nothing moves past you. You are firm like mountains. Your feet have become mountains. Birds can't reach you anymore. The enemy will come, but nothing will go through you. Then he says to them, you know my sword Zulfiqar, you are my sword now. You know my spear, you are my spear, you are my shield. I have sent you to destroy my enemy. So don't come back to me until you destroy the enemy in front of you. This approach is something completely different to disunity. This is absolute unity. You are my weapons. Sahib Zulfiqar is calling you his sword. And when you strike the enemy, you don't come back until you've gained every piece of land for me. If you're in the army and Haydar Karar talks to you like this, imagine how much power and strength come true from these words. These words are for everyone, because later on in that same battle, someone says, Ya Imam, my brother wasn't here. He wanted to fight. He couldn't make it. Imam Ali says to him, your brother who wasn't here on the battlefield, does he love me? The brother says, yes, he has muhabbat for you. Imam Ali says, if he loves me, whether he was not here, whether he is born in years from now, he is with me when I fight. Every single one of them, if they have muhabbat for me and they wish they were there on that day with me, then they are with me. I see them with me. Even those who are still in the loins and wombs of their mother and father are with me on this day fighting the enemy. This is walaya. You defy time and space because your muhabbat unites you with your mawla. This walaya, which we're trying to build inshallah, takes me towards Allah, not alone as a unit, as a group. Okay, what are we? We are your spears, we are your swords. Now come to Ashura. Habib bin Madahir takes all of the ashab and goes to the tent of Sayyidina Zainab sallallahu alayhi wa. He has them all standing, says, all of you, take out your swords and your spears. They take them out. He says, Ya Sayyidina Zainab, you see us? We are your swords. Everyone hold your sword, they all hold their swords out. He says, take your spears out. We are your spears. Take your shields, we are your shields. We fight your enemies for your sake. This is walaya on Ashura. Now come to us today. Right? I was not Ashura, but I say, Ya laytani kunna ma'akum. If only I was there for the thousand adim, I would have had that great success with you, Ya Abu Abdullah. That means that when the call comes to Imam Zaman alayhi salam, I go to him as quick as I would have gone to Abu Abdullah on Ashura. That is walaya. We are one solid unit. Now, when you have this walaya, you're going to go through a change. Quran mentions this. What do we start off? You have walaya. Then you have muhabbat, yeah? Then you become a unit, you become firm, you have unified. Then you become an ummah, only now. So until this point, you're not an ummah. You're an ummah when you come to Allah with all of these qualities done. Now you're an ummah. Now ummah now means something completely different. Ummah means, we see in Surah 7 verse 34, kulli ummatin ajlun. Every ummah has its own time period. Now, my life is not measured by my birth and my death. My life is measured by the birth of my ummah and the death of my ummah. Every ummah has its own fixed time. And the Quran goes on to mention, it does not exist for 1 hour more or 1 hour less. Every ummah has its own time period. So now, gradually, I'm no longer measuring my life by the day of my birth anymore. My death is no longer the day that I actually die. My life is based on kulli ummatin ajrun. Every ummah has its own time period. I belong to that ummah. I was born when this ummah began. I will die when this ummah ends. This is unity where I'm now losing sense of time and space and absorbing into the time and space of the ummah of Ali Muhammad. We go one step further. Kulli ummatin tud'a ila kitab. Every ummah will be raised with its kitab. Every ummah. Hold on a second. I'm doing good and bad deeds. I think I'm raised by my kitab. No. I can't have my own book of deeds read without your deeds read alongside it. Kulli ummatin tud'a ila kitab. That means, if we actually, it's not going to be a literal book, but if it was a book, I can't even look at my deeds alone without looking at the deeds of everyone who belongs to my ummah. And I'm not raised up alone, I'm raised up as an ummah. So now, not only I begin and end with my ummah, now on the day of judgment, Allah sees me as part of my ummah. He doesn't see me alone anymore. So if I did a bad deed, and one of you did dua for it to be forgiven, I see both my bad deed and your forgiveness for me. If we did a good deed together, I don't see my deed alone, I see the deeds of all of us ajma'een, because every ummah is raised with this kitab, and now gradually we are seeing I'm raised with you. Every ummah is raised according to its imam. We are raised with our imam together. We go one step further about this. Every ummah sees its own action as the best. It does zina of its own actions on amal. What does this mean? It means when I view my own community, I'm going to see it's the best. I'm going to think I'm in the best community, I'm the best of friends, I'm the best brothers in this community. But this ummah can only govern if someone's doing amr ma'ruf and nahy anil munkar. According to the hadith, this is the, I don't think it's the lifeblood, but this is the energy of the ummah. It's described like this, amr and nahy. I might not see myself properly unless someone shows it to me by describing it towards me. However, every ummah is not perfect. Every ummah has at least one negative quality, and it's every ummah, whether I'm in it or not, and that's this quality. The quality is ummatin birasulihi liya'khudhuhu. Kulli ummatin birasulihi ya'khudhuhu. Every ummah has someone in it trying to defy the Rasul. Every ummah. Yesterday we mentioned Nabi Musa ala nabina. After him there were 71 sects Of all of them, just one followed, 70 misguided. After Nabi Isa, there were 72 sects. Of them, just one followed. Rasulullah says, after me, there'll be 73 sects. After the 73, only one will actually follow me the way I was meant to be followed. They said, which is this group? He said, the same group which says, we are the ones who follow Hablullah. We are the ones who follow the rope of Allah. Look at this verse now. In everyone, there'll be some people who try and take you away from your Prophet. Whether from the outside or the inside, they try and split you apart. And I have to be careful to not have any disunity in my ummah. Now I'll ask all of you a question, inshallah. Think to yourself. Do I feel part of my ummah? Do I recognize my ummah? In describing how the Quran goes through it, it has its own time period, it has its own kitab, there are its people of it. I get that. But what ummah do I belong in? And do I feel like I belong to this ummah? In answering this question, Shaykh Mudahri says that you're going to have a few perspectives in answering this question. Some of you might think that, you know what, really and truly, I don't really have an ummah, I'm just an individual, I'm just me. And no one else knows me properly, the way that I think, the way that I live in my own lifestyle. They don't know me. Okay, I come to the Islamic Center, we sit together, okay, mashallah, assalamu alaikum. But you don't know what I'm like in real life. So I feel like, you know what, I'm an individual, I'm not really part of an ummah. Maybe I show up in public events, but I'm an individual. I have my likes, my dislikes, I have the way that I am, but some are like this, okay. Others say, I don't really feel ummah, instead I feel like I'm a part in a machine. Mutahid gives an example, where if there's a car, you feel like you are just having a function in society. You do your job. I don't really feel like unity where we are one being, but I feel like I'm doing my job. For example, when someone meets you, what's the first thing they say to you? What's your name? What do you do? You are defined in society by your job. You know what? That's all I am. They know me as the dentist, they know me as the doctor, they know me as the person who works in that shop, they know me as the person who has business. I'm unemployed, they don't respect me anymore. I'm known by my business, I'm known by my wealth, I'm known by my role in society. Some people think like this, maybe you do as well, where I'm known just by my function. No one actually knows me. Okay. Mutahid says some people are like where they think that I and my identity is like that of a melting pot, where all I am is thrown into a pot and everyone's thrown into the same pot and heat's applied to that melting pot and it's mixed around. Whatever comes out is a general way of thinking. There's no me left. I'm just following what people think I am doing. General, what is expected of me, I just do those same things. For example, I was born at a certain time. Okay, I went to a school because people said go to that school. And then they said, well, you should go to uni. So I said, well, I went to uni because I might as well get a job. Okay, I went to uni. Then I came out of uni, I got a degree. Everyone's expecting of me, so I got a degree. And then I had to get married at a certain age, so I did. I got married. And then after that, I had to have children at a certain age because you're meant to have kids. I had kids at that age. I raised my kids the way that I was raised because that's what they're meant to do. Then I went to a certain age where, you know what, I'm working so much. Let me retire. I retire at that age. Okay, then I go to my pub. At my pub, I look back and I think, you know what, did I actually make any of those choices myself? Like, did I choose what to study? Did I choose how to live? Did I choose any of this? I did what people expected from me, but did I do it for me really? Was anything chosen by me? I was in a pot, melted, and what came out was something people think I should do. Well, that is somewhat like this, where you think, you know what, I don't really see my choices anymore. However, whether you think you are an individual or part of a machine, or you think you are melted and you have no choices left, the way Islam wants us to look at ourselves, as Mutahri explains, is look at yourself as one social spirit, one soul. And every member who loves Ahlul Bayt is part of the same spirit. All of us. It's that same spirit, that same soul, which has its own likes and dislikes. The Prophet says, my ummah is like a body. When one part is hurt, all of it feels pain. This is one being. I'm not connected by name anymore, not by race, by nothing. I'm connected to this being by my love for Ahlul Bayt. This love takes my identity away, and now we share one thing. We share one soul. That soul is what Allah sees. That spirit, the same spirit, when Sayyid Fatima is upset, the Prophet says, don't worry, there'll be a qawm which will rise and they will mourn for your Hussein. That's this ummah right now. One spirit, one soul. Allah says, you know this spirit? It has the same likes, same dislikes. They were likes, dislikes, dislikes. It's like one being. You're part of that being. If you want to know yourself, look at the Shia, you'll see yourself in the mirror. Al-mu'min mirratu mu'min. The mu'min is a mirror of the mu'min. Every single one of us exists in this one form. This form lives and breathes in the azar of Hussein alayhi salam. So now I am known in relation to my love of Ali Muhammad. That's how I'm known. I'm known whether or not I do azari for Hussein alayhi salam. Do I pray salat, which was given to us by Hussein alayhi salam? Do I fast around the Kaaba in which Ali was born?
Do I give zakat? The same thing Ali established in his book. I'm known by Rashid Ahl Bayt. Now my identity is taken by Ali Muhammad. I belong to them. And that's why our Imam said our Shia are made from the same thing we are made from. They're made from our substance. That's when we, Ali Muhammad, our bodies were created from the earth left by the arsh of Allah. Whatever was left, Allah used the same earth used for us to make the qalb of the one who loves us. I said it yesterday, that's why you love Ali Muhammad, because you're made from the same substance. Imam says we love our Shia more than mothers and fathers love their children. And our Shia should love us more than they love their mothers, because we are their origin. We are the ones who have brought you this identity of being known by your relation to your Imam. Now, if someone comes and tries to cause disunity against me, I have a strength to counter the disunity. I have this love. No matter what someone comes to me with, it's not greater than the love of Ali Muhammad. It's not greater. There should be rationally nothing which should split us apart, at least rationally. There should be no thing which is worth enough for a Shia to at least be upset with another Shia. Let me give you one example on this. Muhammad wa Muhammad. Example comes from Idara Jaaferiya, a great alim in akhlaq. He has a good example. He says there was a man who was known for always causing fights. He was known as being, quite a rowdy guy. So a young boy wanted to test and see what is he like. And that man works in a shop, the shopkeeper, very angry shopkeeper. The boy goes to the shop. He says, excuse me, I want to know, how do you start a fight? The shopkeeper says, listen, it's the morning. I'm not ready for this. Go away from here. It's in the story. He goes, no. Tell me, how do you start a fight? And the shopkeeper says, listen to me. I'm telling you straight up. Stop it. I don't want to have a fight with you. Leave from here. The boy says, tell me, how do you start a fight? The shopkeeper said, look, takes up his shoe. I'm telling you right now, I'm going to bust you in the head. We say it one more time. I will hit you. Say it one more time. The boy says, how do you start a fight? Okay. He takes this shoe, he slaps him on the head. Blood starts pouring down, and the boy looks at him and says, you know what? Now I know how you start a fight. You start a fight when two people disagree, and of them, one of them should back down, but doesn't. And when one person, at least one, doesn't back down, you have a disagreement among them. That's where a fight comes from. Either one of them could have stopped. If you keep rising and rising, and no one's willing to bring the heat out, there's going to be a conflict. Now look at our community and Shias in general. If we have a disagreement, who's willing to sit down and for the love of the other person, allow them to get what they want? Who's willing to do that? Who's willing to say, you know what, I don't agree with you, but you have done a Majlis for my Mawla. Because of this Majlis, I'll let it go. Who's done this? You have insulted me to my face, but I know for a fact that when you do your namaz, I know you do it with Walayat for the sake of that namaz, I'm going to let it go. Who's willing in your disagreement to say, you know what, because of your love for Muhammad, I'm going to let it go? Who does this? That's Walaya, where our first identity is our love for Muhammad. Everything else comes second. We are that one spirit, one soul. Everything else comes second. And if you don't believe this, reflect on our past. Look at how much we have suffered to have this Walaya. Nothing is worth more than the suffering of Ali Muhammad to give us this love. Imam after Imam, Sadiqun ba'da Sadiq, Salihun ba'da Salih, each one coming to make sure that this same love is inherited by the next community. And I am going to take this love and throw out the window because I will get to disagree with someone. How dare I? Love of Ali Muhammad goes against all these things. If we reflect on our past and where we have come through and how much blood has been shed for this wilayah, we no longer want to be against one another. However, what we will find is our enemies, they are united. Our enemies are one. In Nahj Balagha says in Nahj Balagha 725 that our enemies have unity whilst I see you with disunity. They have unity. What do you say? Allahumma la'ana ummatan qatalat al-Hussein. I do la'an on the ummah which came together and killed Hussein. It wasn't one person, an ummah killed Abu Abdullah. They came together, not then, even before. It was an ummah which opposed Muhammad alayhi salam. In one but all of you read that it was an ummah which came together after the death of Ali alayhi salam, after he was killed. And they came together, al-ummatun mujtama'atun ala qatiyati rahimin. They all came together, all the people with one intention, cut relations from Ali. Where Messiah will, and they cut relations and stopped following him. There was unity against my Imam. There was unity then. Muawiyah had unity. Imam says, if I had followers like Muawiyah, I would have beaten him. They have unity there together. Look at Dua Nudba, which she did on Friday morning. The enemy, mujtama, so they all came together. They had unity to cut relations from Ali. And most of them did this. They cut relations and they attacked him for the sake of his love. Illa al-qalil, except a few people. Mimman wifal ri'ayat al-haqq. Only a few people actually stayed with Ali. It was the minority. But what happens to them? Some of them were killed because they had love for Ali. Some of them were imprisoned because they had this love for Ali. Some were banished from their land because of this love. They went through qatl, subi, and oxy for me to have a love of Ali right now today. They were killed. Misam al-Tamar was killed for dhikr of Ali alayhi salam. Hujmati was killed for this dhikr. Karbala happened because the lovers of Ali were killed for having dhikr of Ali alayhi salam. Since then, we have been being killed all around the world. Yesterday, 100 more of us were killed in Afghanistan for this love of Ali. Okay, Qutla was Subi among Subi, and some were imprisoned for this love of Ali because they would not let go of having wafa for Ali. Look at Asirani Karbala. The reason why they're in prison, Kufa and Sham, is because this reason they won't let go of Ali alayhi salam. Whenever in the khutbahs of Sayyidina Zainab or Imam Sajjad, they always begin after praising Allah of doing dhikr of Ali alayhi salam. That's why they're in prison. And since then, how many more have been thrown into prison because of their love for Ali alayhi salam? So many have been thrown. Okay, we have one success story recently with Sheikh Zakzaki being freed, but then look at how many more. We don't even know how many ulama in Bahrain are in prison right now. I saw a video recently in Muharram of the prisoners in Bahrain doing Majlis while in prison. And in their courtyard, they're walking back and forth doing Matam in the courtyard. Yemen today is in a blockade. It's a prison. Look at the pictures and videos. In Walad Nurada alayhi salam, the children come together and do the fadail and the nasibat of Ahl al-Bayt. Children lying in rubble because their land has been cut off. Why? Because they won't let go of the love of Ali alayhi salam. And some of them were expelled from their land. Why? Because they will not let go of Ali alayhi salam. For example, Abu Dhar was banished from his land because he would not stop criticizing the third Khalifa and praising Ali alayhi salam. So he's banished. So Abu Abdullah is banished from his land because he's not constant, because he won't give bay'ah to someone who is ghayr of Ali alayhi salam. He won't do it. And since then, how many muhajir, how many musafir, how many refugees have we had who are leaving their lands for this very reason, because they can't have and practice their deen for Ali alayhi salam in their lands. They have to leave. They're kicked from their land because of love for Ali alayhi salam. And even today, it keeps happening where we can't stay in one place because they come and attack us whatever country we go to. Now ask yourself, what disagreement is worth staying by, which is worth more than the blood which was shed for me to have this wilayah? Some were killed for this blood. Some were expelled from the land for this blood. Some were imprisoned for this love. And I would not use this love to go against the disagreements in my life. No, wilayah, true wilayah means this. The first thing I see you as is a Shia of Ali. Everything else comes later. And we get this from love of Ali alayhi salam. Inshallah. We just Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. To conclude, and every night I conclude with one practical point for our community. I did yesterday and I will today as well, inshallah. One of the most recommended things for the people who love one another for the sake of Muhammad alayhi salam is to spend quality time among one another. Quality time. Sometimes al-mashi, but sometimes just normal time. Abu Dhar and Ammar were friends. They would hang out in their free time. Hujr bin Ali and Malik al-Ashtar would travel together. They do business together. It wasn't just when they were with Ali alayhi salam. In their lives, they spent time among one another just for the sake of being close to one another. Wilayah grows when you are around those people who remind you of Allah Azza wa Jal. I know that many parents who are here and often parents say things like, how do I make sure my child stays in the right path? How do I make sure? There's so much disunity, and we'll forget disunity. There's so much kufr and there's so much misguidance in schools and all around. How do I make them stay true? Here's one advice. Make sure they have a friendship group of other Shias of Ali alayhi salam. It's so important because then we remind each other, let's go towards the majlis. Okay, we're playing football, but you know what? Let's do namaz and then carry on. Little things like this build wilayah when you're just spending quality time. Meet each other for meals, this kind of action. For example, tonight we're doing a Shabidari after program, inshallah, which is organized entirely by the youth. The youth came together of different centers. Idara, SI Education, Al-Nur, Hayden, and said, you know what? Let's do a majlis together. Once a year, let's hold a majlis for the whole community. Each year in a different center. This year, and that's this year, for the first time, Idara after today's majlis. Saying this, we are united by Azam. Okay, you grew up in a different community. You went to a different Islamic center. You go to a different qawm. But we're shared by this love of Ali alayhi salam. Why don't we come together? So inshallah, that's today Shabadali, but not just today. After Muharram, inshallah, the youth in the South London are organizing so many events for your children. For your children. Not just coming to the mosque, going to the park together, spending quality time, playing football together, having meals, meeting ulama together. When you hear the advices and hear the announcements on WhatsApp, please accept it. Send your children with the youth, because this way they're spending quality time together so that later on in life, when they're in trouble, they know they can call on someone who loves Ali to come and help them. That's trust. That person will not let them down when they're in trouble later on. If you have debts in money, then give them money for the sake of love for Hussein alayhi salam. When they have a majlis in their house and say, come to the majlis, they'll definitely come because they grew up cultivating one another, the love of Ali alayhi salam. We have to start young. Alayhi Islam says the heart of a youth is like an uncultivated piece of land. Whatever you put will grow. I'm saying to you, we are going to put azar and wilayat in the hearts of our children. Bring them together for this sake. So inshallah, in today's event and future events, let's make sure we represent so that later on, just like we don't leave this wilayat, the wilayat will never leave us until our qabr, inshallah. Then our discussions about Allah Muhammad wa alihi. Tomorrow we'll continue our topic of unity and see that once we have this brotherhood, how do we deal with very specific challenges? 3 challenges we look at tomorrow. Number 1, if someone comes to us and tries to cause disunity among us using words like muqassir, malam, batri, how do we respond to them using our history? And when they try and use the role of the imam to disunify us, don't do tawassul, this person will say, how do we deal with these issues? Number 2, when people try and cause disunity using our ulama to disunify us, you are with this scholar, you're with that scholar, you're with this alim, how do we make sure we're not letting those words affect love between us? And number 3, inshallah, if there's discrimination in our communities, racism or any type, how do we use this wilayah to counter any form of discrimination? Inshallah, that's our discussion tomorrow, and we will see you then. Sallallahu Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Let us now, inshallah, for the last few moments, turn our minds and our hearts for maybe one of the final times we'll have to the Azhar of Hussein in this Ayam Azhar. Like I mentioned to you earlier, every day that goes by is one day closer in which we're going to be leaving these nights of Majalis behind. Yes, the message remains, the work remains, but the Majlis of Hussein will have to take a pause in these Ayam Azhar. This hurts the heart. This heart which breaks for Hussein must now say goodbye to this period of Majalis and Muharram and Safar and Arba'in. If it's hard for us to say Al-Wida to this Ayam, imagine how hard it was for the family of Imam Hussein alayhi salam to return and come back to their home of Medina. Having said Al-Wida to Hussein alayhi salam in Karbala, having left a zindan where one small girl has been buried, now they come back to Medina after everything they have been through. When they come back, Imam alayhi salam reaches and says, Bashir, who's with him, go to Medina, announce that we are coming. What should we say? Tell them that the captives of Sham are coming home to Medina. Tell them this. They know who we are. Bashir goes to Medina and says, Allah qad qutila al-Husayn fi ardi Karbala. Hussein has been killed in ardi Karbala fi yawm Ashura bila ghuslin wala kafan. Hussein has been killed on the day of Ashura. No ghusl, no kafan. Now come the family of that Hussein alayhi salam. When he says, laqad qutila al-Husayn, of all the people here, one Ummul Banin stands and says, which Hussein has been killed? Which Hussein? It says Hussein's been killed. Then she said, what do you mean Hussein's been killed? They said, who are you? I am Ummul Banin. Tell me about Hussein. You're Ummul Banin. Allah, may Allah have mercy on you for your son Uthman. Don't tell me about my son Uthman. Where is Hussein? May Allah rahmu alayka bi waladi al-Abdullah. May Allah have mercy for you for your son Abdullah. Don't tell me about Abdullah. Where's my son? Then they say, may Allah have mercy to you for your son Abbas. When they say this, Ummul Banin falls to the ground and says, if my Abbas has fallen, Husseina! If my Abbas has died, then what about my Hussein alayhi salam? Wow, Husseina! Then she stands and says, where is my Abbas? As she stands, this is when she stands, Zainab enters alongside Sajjad alayhi salam. They come towards her. Zainab says, Ummul Banin, when they meet one another, Zainab says, Ummul Banin, I give you pursa for my brother Hussein. Ummul Banin says, I give you pursa for my Abbas. says, then Albany stands, she's mourning, she's crying. Why? Hussein's been killed. She goes to Jannatul Baqi. As she goes to Baqi, she says, I'm sending my salam to you, Fatimatul Zahra, from me, Albany. She says, Ya Fatima, I will not complain to you for Abbas. For my Abbas, your Abbas was killed before Hussein. But I complain to you why? After Abbas was killed, your daughters were taken to Sham, and my Abbas was not there when the daughter of Zainab was taken. I give you condolences, Ya Fatima, for them. Still Zainab stands, she goes back, and now she goes towards her home. As she goes to her home, after all this time traveling, going from Karbala to Kufa, Kufa to Sham, Sham back to Karbala, Karbala back to Medina. Now she finally goes home. As she opens her door, her husband Abdullah opens and says, yes, who are you? How can I help you? Zainab says, do you not recognize me? I am your Zainab. Abdullah says, you're my Zainab. Zainab was a young woman when she left Medina, whereas I see my why? Zainab says, Asham has made me elderly. I broke my Sham. When she opened the door, she looked inside and she sees what she sees. Inside the house, there are two small beds. Wondering why they are too small. Such the girls lying on the ground. Then she says, let me see something. Ya Allah, I have cried for my master Hussein. I cried for Abbas. I cried for everyone. Now I will cry for my son Aun and Muhammad. Zainab is not anyone, this is a mother. Yes, she's Ummul Masa'ib, but this is a mother. She says, now I cry. Do you know something? My own and Muhammad was so brave. They were both so bravely. Everyone was shaheed that I saw my two sons shaheed. Then Zainab stands, and now she goes, having said this, towards the Qabr of Rasulullah. She goes to the Holy Prophet. After all this, she says, Assalamu alayka ya Rasulullah. I am Zainab, I have returned back towards you. There's just these strange words. She says, Ya Rasulullah, when I left Medina, I was surrounded by men all around me. Either was my brother Hussein that was with me, or Abbas, or Ali Akbar who looks like this. Says, now I've returned. There are no men left with me except Imam Sajjad alayhi salam. Ya Rasulullah, I have brought back Sajjad, but I have left Sakina in the Zindan. I've left her alone. One akhir riwayat for all of you. When Rasulullah died, when he goes to his last moment, it was only a few days ago when we had his majlis. Rasulullah says some strange things. He says, Ya Ali, Ya Fatima, do you know something? Hassan and Hussein, they are my children, then they are your children. So you take care of them. Zainab and Kulthum, they are my daughters, then they are your daughters, then take care of them. Then he says, know something, you have Hassan, you have Hussein, you have Zainab, Kulthum. Ali, there is one more child which your wife is still expecting. Name that child Mohsin. Whatever happens after, remember to call him this day. As that on this day today is the day of the Shahadat of that Mohsin. Which Mohsin? That's when in this same Medina, in the house of Fatima, when the enemy came outside, Zahra said inside, Zainab is watching everything. She said, Rabi. She said, I watched and I saw a man came to the door. He said, let me come in. My mother Zahra said, no. He said, no. He said, if you don't come in, we will set fire to this house. So she said, no. Then she said, I am the daughter of Rasulullah. Do you have no respect? He says, no, set fire to this house. Zahra said, then I saw my mother Zahra. Wallah, kicked the door open. And she said, my brother was still waiting. My mother fell and said, Ya Abada, Ya Rasulullah, that same Mohsin is shaheed now. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Ya Allah, Ya Allah, Ya Allah. For the sake of this Mazloom who has saved the Shaheed on this day, help and guide all of our children on this path, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, this Majalis, any tears we have shed and any tears for this whole period of Azab, Ya Allah, forgive all of our sins for these tears, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, this Majalis, the Bani, and the host of this Majlis, the Bani, may Allah accept the amal of all of them for me, Ya Allah. May Allah also guide their children and their family, inshallah, Ya Allah. And Ya Allah, Akhiran, we pray that this Majalis and our Azab and all of the events that we do, may all of it take us closer to the whole of Imam al-Qan Hujjah wa Zaman, inshallah. اللهم إنا نسألك بحق فاطمة وبها بعد ابنها والسر المستعود وفيها حمد الصلاة على محمد وعلى محمد.
Ya Hussein. Ya Hussein. Ya Hussein, 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 Ya Hussein,
बाजार के मंजर को और अपने खुले सर को भूली नहीं मैं बाजार के मंजर को और अपने सर को भूली नहीं मैं अपने बंद हाथों को बीमार के जेवर को भूली नहीं मैं बाजार के मंजर को और अपने खुले सर को भूली नहीं मैं एक चांद था बदली में चुप जाता निकलता था पर्दा डर है माँ का उठता कभी गिरता था वो है माँ लैला से हाय रुखसत अकबर को भूली नहीं मैं बाजार के मंजर को और अपने खुले सर को भूली नहीं मैं बाजार के मंजर को और अपने खुले सर को भूली नहीं मैं याद आता है दुल्हन को हंस किस तरह आए थे एक गठरी शहर वाला जब कानों पे लाए थे इस लाश की गठरी को सुकून भरी चादर को भूली नहीं मैं बाजार के मंजर को और अपने खुले सर को भूली नहीं मैं लहराते हुए लहजा और शिमरता वो करना आके मेरे पीछे हर बीबी का वो छुपना शोलों में घिरे घर को चिन्हती हुई चादर को भूली नहीं मैं बाजार के मंजर को और अपने खुले सर को भूली नहीं मैं मासूम सकीना को करते हुए नैज़ों को खिंचते हुए गालों को बिरहम तमाशों को रसते हुए गालों को खिंचते हुए गौहर को भूली नहीं मैं बाजार के मंजर को और अपने खुले सर को भूली नहीं मैं जिस रात में तन्हा थी उस रात के ढलने को टूटे हुए नैज़ों को उस रात के पहरे को बच्चों के सिसकने को और खाक के बेसर को भूली नहीं मैं बाजार के मंजर को और अपने खुले सर को भूली नहीं मैं Abbas, अब्बास अब्बास तेरा हक है ज़माना तुझे रोए अब्बास तेरा हक है ज़माना तुझे रोए जब शाम सहर फातिमा ज़हरा तुझे रोए जब शाम सहर फातिमा ज़हरा तुझे रोए तेरा ज़माना तुझे रोए अब्बास तेरा हक है ज़माना तुझे रोए दुर्रानी की पहरे पे सितमगार खड़ा है दुर्रानी की पहरे पे सितमगार खड़ा है कैसे तेरे लाशे पे सकीना तुझे रोए ओ कैसे तेरे लाशे पे सकीना तुझे रोए अब्बास तेरा हक है ज़माना तुझे रोए अब्बास तेरा हक है ज़माना तुझे रोए जिस वक्त उठाया ना गया लाशा जवाबा जिस वक्त उठाया ना गया लाशा जवाबा उस भारी अकबर से ज़्यादा तुझे रोए उस भारी अकबर से ज़्यादा तुझे रोए अब्बास तेरा हक है ज़माना तुझे रोए अब्बास तेरा हक है ज़माना सजदे के लिए जब लिया हाथों का सहारा सजदे के लिए जब लिया हाथों का सहारा सजा मुसल्ले पे हमेशा तुझे रोए ओ सजा मुसल्ले पे हमेशा तुझे रोए अब्बास तेरा हक है ज़माना रोए अब्बास तेरा हक है ज़माना तुझे रोए मशकी सा कहीं जिस्म कहीं हाथ कहीं है मशकी सा कहीं जिस्म कहीं हाथ कहीं है जा जा के कहाँ फातिमा ज़हरा ओ जा जा के कहाँ फातिमा ज़हरा तुझे रोए अब्बास तेरा हक है ज़माना तुझे रोए अब्बास तेरा हक है ज़माना तुझे रोए अरमान सकीना का हजतना तुझे रोती अरमान सकीना का हजतना तुझे रोती सजा तेरी खबर पे उतना तुझे रोए ओ सजा तेरी खबर पे उतना तुझे रोए अब्बास तेरा हक है ज़माना तुझे रोए अब्बास तेरा हक है ज़माना तुझे रोए जब शाम सहर फातिमा ज़हरा तुझे रोए ओ जब शाम सहर फातिमा ज़हरा तुझे रोए
रब कोई मासूमा जिंदा मिल करना हो या रब कोई मासूमा जिंदा मिल करना हो या रब कोई मासूमा जिंदा मिल करना हो या रब कोई मासूमा जिंदा मिल करना हो काबिल ना हुआ है हाय काबिल ना हुआ है रोने बिना बहरा हो या रब कोई मासूमा जिंदा मिल करना हो या रब कोई मासूमा जिंदा मिल करना हो धीर सोनी दवाती शरीक सीने पर धीर सोनी दवाती शरीक सीने पर जिंदा दर जिंदा हर जिंदा दर जिंदा उसके लिए रज़ा हो या रब कोई मासूमा जिंदा मिल करना हो या रब कोई मासूमा जिंदा मिल करना हो जिंदानों से आती थी आवाज सकने की जिंदानों से आती थी आवाज सकने की जैसे जैसे कीना को हाय जैसे जैसे कीना को हर जिंदा रो रहा हो या रब कोई मासूमा जिंदा मिल करना हो या रब कोई मासूमा जिंदा मिल करना हो टकराए ना वो जुगर जिंदा की दीवारों से टकराए ना वो जुगर जिंदा की दीवारों से भाई से और टूपी से हाय भाई से और टूपी से जिसको जुदा किया हो या रब कोई मासूमा जिंदा मिल करना हो या रब कोई मासूमा जिंदा मिल करना हो जिंदान में नजफी आलाई सकीना की जिंदान में नजफी आलाई सकीना की दिल रो रो कह रहा है हाय दिल रो रो कह रहा है अब ना उजाला हो या रब कोई मासूमा जिंदा मिल करना हो या रब कोई मासूमा जिंदा मिल करना हो या हुसैन या हुसैन या हुसैन
ऊंचा रहे अपना आलम ऊंचा रहे अपना आलम जब तक है दौरे आसमान जब तक है दौरे आसमान जब तक है दौरे आसमान सुन ले ये हर पीरो जवां
आवाज पर शामिर बढ़ता रहे ये कारवां रुकने ना पाए ये कदम ऊंचा रहे ऊंचा रहे हर पल पर छाते चलो हर पल पर छाते चलो दुनिया को बतलाते चलो दुनिया को बतलाते चलो एक एक महाज़े जुल्म की तस्वीर दिखलाते चलो हर दिल में भर दो शह का हम ऊंचा रहे ऊंचा रहे कब तक ना मानेगा कोई कब तक ना मानेगा कोई वो वक्त आएगा कभी आएगा कभी हर कल्ब पर छा जाएगा अपना हुसैन ने अली इस दर पर हर सर होगा हम ऊंचा रहे अपना ऊंचा रहे अपना वो तीरे पानी ये जफा मासूम का सूखा गला इस्लाम जिंदा कर गई असवर के मरने की अदा हंस कर सहा तीरे सितम ऊंचा रहे अपना ऊंचा रहे अपना जब करबला याद आएगी इंसानियत शर्माएगी मज़लूम की आवाज़ है दिल में उतरती जाएगी पलटेंगे फिर बह के कदम ऊंचा रहे अपना ऊंचा रहे अपना नौजवाना ने आज़ाद नौजवाना ने आज़ाद तुम हो किसी दिल की दुआ ताहशर उठती ही रहे सीनों से मातम की सदा कायम रहे अकबर का हम ऊंचा रहे अपना ऊंचा रहे अपना ऊंचा रहे अपना
अल्लाहुम्मा सल्ली अला मुहम्मदिन व आले मुहम्मद पड़ेगा नहीं दान पढ़ा रहा है दान पढ़ा रहा है
अस्सलाम वालेकुम या अब्बातुल्लाह अस्सलाम वालेकुम या रसूलुल्लाह अस्सलाम वालेकुम या अमीरुल मोमिनीन व सय्यदुल वसीम अस्सलाम वालेकुम या फातिमातुल ज़हरा सय्यदतुन निसाइल आलमीन अस्सलाम वालेकुम खदीजतुल कुबरा उम्मुल मोमिनीन अस्सलाम वालेकुम या जद्दिका व अबीक अस्सलाम वालेकुम या उम्मिका व अखीक अस्सलाम वालेकुम तसद्दुल मासूमीन मिन ज़ुर्रिय्यतिका व बनीक अस्सलाम वालेकुम व रहमतुल्लाहि व बरकातुहू अस्सलामु अलल हुसैन व अला अली इब्न हुसैन व अला अली हुसैन खुसूसन सय्यदी व मौला या अबुल फज़ल अब्बास ابن أمير المؤمنين وقاسم ابن حسن ومسلم ابن أكيد وهاني ابن أروى وحبيب ابن مظاهر والرشيد الرحاي. السلام عليك يا ساداتي وموالي يا جميل ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليكم يا أمة المسلمين. علي بن حسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد وحسن بن علي والحجة القائم المنتظر المهدي. يا مولانا يا صاحب الأسر والزمان، الأمان 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 من فتنة الزمان وشر الشيطان. السلام عليك يا خليفة الرحمن، السلام عليك يا شريك القرآن، السلام عليك يا مصدر الإيمان، إمامنا وإمام الإنس والجان. أجل الله تعالى فرجك وسعد الله تعالى مخرجك وزبورك وجلنا من أسرارك وجلنا من أوانك وجلنا من مستشهدين بين يديك برحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم كن وليك الجبريل الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آله في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.
Assalamu alaikum. So the Idara-e-Jaaferiya event for the South boys will be starting at 9:45 because we're going to stop right now. So